Let me tell you of the days of high adventure.
Hey there, Nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and we are back in another episode of the Golden Age. This is our series that is dedicated to Warhammer Fantasy Battle Reports for 8th edition Warhammer Fantasy. And this is Battle Report number 139. It is a 3,000 point battle that is fought between Khorne Legion of Chaos as well as my Lizardmen. So for in case you guys are tuning in for the very first time, what has happened is that my studio made a 3,000 point Lizardman army, and what we're doing is we're taking this army through its paces by fighting through every single army in our collection. So that being said, ladies, I'm going to play some background music real quick. As the music is playing, we will show you photos of both armies as well as our army rosters. If you want to see exactly what we're bringing for this battle report, you can pause and take a look at your own leisure, or check down the description box below for more information about our army lists. So that being said, let's get this battle report on a roll.
Khorne, I've never prayed you before. I have no tongue for it. No one, not even you, will remember if we were good men or bad, why we fought or why we died. No. All that matters is that two stood against many. That's what's important. Balor pleases you, Khorne. So grant me one request. Grant me revenge. And if you do not listen, then the hell with you.
Alright, so now that we got the army list done with, let's go and talk about the plan real quick. So first of all, starting over here on this side, my buddy Big Puka will be playing his army, the Blood of the Fold, which is a 3,000 point Khorne Legion of Chaos army. On the left-hand side, we have the Blood Riders, which are 3 Skull Crushers of Khorne, musician as well as Standard Bearer. And right next to them are the Scions of the Destroyer. It is a unit of 8 Chaos Knights with full command. They're equipped with resourceful weapons, Chaos Armor and Shields, Barded Chaos Steeds. They got the Standard Discipline. And leading that unit is Arbaal the Destroyer, an Exalted hero with a Sword of Might. He's also got a Helm of Many Eyes. He's also mounted on a demonic mount with Barding. He's also got Chaos Armor and Shields. And back over in this left-hand corner, this is Karanak, the special character, as well as the Flesh Terrors, which are 5 Flesh Hounds of Khorne. And the reason why they're back in this corner is because they'll be coming in later on with ambushing. My buddy Big Puka just put him here just because he doesn't lose track of them. So continuing on deployment over here in the front, we have the Fangs of Nyr, which is a unit of 5 Chaos Warhounds taking points, so that way we can stop these 2 units from charging forward in case they fail their frenzy tests. Back on the left-hand side, this is a unit called the Marked Men, unit of 26 Marauders of Khorne with full command. They got great weapons, light armor, and shields, and they're led by Scyla Anfingrimm, which is the special character, Chaos Spawn special character. He's also got the Brass Collar of Khorne. And right next on the right-hand side, this is the Black Legion, unit of 24 Warriors of Chaos with full command. They also have halberds, shields, and chaos armor. They're also packing the standard Banner of Rage as well. And then finally over here on the far right-hand corner, we have the Flarekin, which is a unit of 22 Bloodletters of Khorne with Musician and Standard Bearer. They also have the Hellblades as well as the Banner of Swiftness, making them movement 7. At the same time, leading this unit is Skulltaker, the special character who's got Slayer's Sword as well as Cloak of Skulls with the lesser loci of Abjuration, which that way he could take away for magic resistance. And then also in this unit we also have the Sanguine Skinner, which is a Herald of Khorne who's got a Hellblade as well as a greater Locus of Fury. And that pretty much makes up the deployment over here for the Blood of the Fold 3,000 point Chaos Legion of Khorne army. Alright, so continuing the deployment from the far left-hand side from my army, the Lizards of Waaaghz, my 3,000 point Lizardman army. So let's go and talk about my deployment real quick. So over here on the far left-hand side, that is Gatorade and Powerade. Gatorade is a Saurus Old Blood. He's got great weapon as well as Armor of Destiny as well as a Dawnstone. And he's also running a Carnosaur Powerade, which has the Blood War, as well as Loping Stride upgrades. Up in the front here, taking Vanguard positions are the Charizards, which are 3 Pterodon Riders with Fire Leech Bolas. Over here, continuing on the center on the left-hand side, that is the Karma Chameleons. It is, 24 Skinks of full command. They also have 3 Kroxigor in that unit as well. They also have Poison Javelin attacks. And leading that unit are 2 characters. We got Snarl, who's a level 1 Skink Priest with the Lord Beasts. He's got the Amber Spear as well as Cube of Darkness. as well as Slag, which is another Skink Priest. He's also got Lord of Heavens. He's got Urahnon's Thunderbolt for his spell, as well as a Dispel Scroll. Now, continuing on from there, in the middle there, that is the Guacamole Guards. It is a huge unit of 32 Temple Guard with full command. They got halberds, light armor, as well as shields. They also got the standard discipline, and leading that unit is Kermit the Slan, which is my general of my army. He is a level 4 of Slan Mage Priest. He's also my army's battle standard bearer as well. He's got the channeling staff, harmonic convergence, as well as focus and mystery. Right next to him is a huge chunk unit called the Saurus, which is a unit of 40 Saurus warrior, musician, and standard bearer. They also have spears and shields. Right next to them on the right hand side, that is Squirtle, as well as the Totodile, which is a Troglodyte with a rider who's also got a dividing rod. And then finally next to them are the Jurassic Jouster, which are 10 Coleman riders with hand weapons as well as shields. And that pretty much makes up my deployment for this battle report. So with deployment over with, they go directly to the top of turn number 1, and both Big Puka and I roll off for initiative to see which of us will be going first. Alright, so that takes directly to the top of turn number 1. The Chaos Legion of Khorne gets to go first, so Big Puka, of course, first thing he does, he takes frenzy checks to see if any of his units frenzy. Lucky for him, the Scions of the Destroyer, as well as the Marked Men, as well as the Black Legion and the Flarekin all pass their frenzy checks, which figures because this is a Khorne army. But what he decided to do though, he decided to declare a charge with the Blood Riders. The Blood Riders actually declare a charge against my Charizards. I decided to flee the Charizards just because that was a fight I knew they could not take, but that was the point. The point was the Charizard was supposed to act as bait. Unfortunately, when I fled though, I rolled like a 3, so I did not get far whatsoever. My buddy Big Puka decided to commit his charge. He actually rolled an 11, charging it forward 18 inches directly towards these ruins and heading directly towards Gatorade and Powerade. I think the reason why is because my buddy Big Puka plans on using them as kind of like a delaying tactic in order to tie up my Saurus Old Blood from actually engaging close combat. Meanwhile, the rest of his army just pretty much moves up kind of forward gingerly. He does march up his Fangs of Nier to put him right smack down in the middle of the table, daring my armies to charge forward. At the same time, he also marches up the Scions of the Destroyer. Looks like he's trying to go for a flank charge directly into my main battle line. At the same time, he's got his Marked Men and Black Legion also marched up forward, getting ready to charge their respective units. And meanwhile, over here on the right-hand side, the Flare can move up just a normal middle ounce between these two ruins. I think the reason why is because he's trying to goad me into charging in with my Cold One Riders, which is actually something I actually might do in order to protect my flanks. And that pretty much makes up the movement phase for turn number 1 for the Khorne Legion of Chaos. So with the movement phase over with, we go directly to the magic phase, and it may sound weird to say that for a Khorne army, but he does have a Chaos Legion army, which means he does get the table, the Brains of Chaos table. So he's gonna roll up on that and see what happens next. Alright, so that takes directly to the magic phase, and even though he is a Khorne army with no magic whatsoever, he still gets to roll in the Reign of Chaos chart. He rolled an 11, which means he gets Khorne's Wrath. Luckily for me, all my units passed that test except for my Jurassic Jousters, so the 3-inch template actually rolls a direct hit directly onto my Jurassic Jousters. I lose one fighter because the hole in the center of the template, because it's an automatic kill as long as it doesn't roll a 1, and the rest actually survive with their armor save. So I got off pretty lucky, but kind of them's the breaks at this point. So with the magic phase over with, since there's no close combat and no shooting, we skip those phases and go directly to the bottom of turn number 1 for the Lizardmen. Alright, so that takes directly to the bottom of turn number 1 for the Lizardmen, and this is after the movement phase, and as you can see, I really don't do any moving whatsoever. The reason why is because I'm not in any rush to engage these guys in close combat. I am fighting a Legion of Khorne armies, so it actually behooves me to delay as long as possible. I'm going to try to whittle down these units as much as I can with magic before I even have to engage these guys in close combat. So I'm going to let my enemy do all the heavy work, and I'll try to counter with some counter charges if I'm able to. The only dynamic move that really took place over here on the left-hand flank, as you can see in this photo, as you can see in this video right here, I send in Gatorade and Powerade. I go charging directly into the Blood Riders, just because I want to get to those guys as quickly as possible and hopefully destroy them that way. Hoping that combat res will be able to finish those guys off, so that's perfectly good there. At the same time, the rest of my army pretty much stands put. I plan on opening fire with my javelins directly into these guys, so I could take those guys out and have them stop being a hindrance. Everything else just stays exactly where it needs to be at. So with the movement phase over with, we go directly to the magic phase. Alright, so we're back with the magic phase, and I had a very successful one as well. I managed to generate 10 power dice during that phase. So let's go on and talk about what happened. So first of all, when it came to my magic phase, I decided to actually have Snarl open fire with the Amber Spear. I launched that directly at Arbaal the Destroyer. Managed to put 2 wounds onto him as well. And we'll talk about exactly why some of these guys disappeared later on. I did try to cast Urahnon's Thunderbolt as well with Slag. Unfortunately for me though, my opponent was able to dispel that spell pretty quickly, so because I was able to do anything against that. However, the big one over here was when I used the Tempest. I had come to this land, target the marked men with the Tempest. It shifted over to the bottom left-hand corner, I think 3 inches. I was able to hit 10 of these guys, which is absolutely fantastic. Now, I managed to kill 2 of these guys, and the reason why is because it's only a strength 3 hit, so it was a 50-50 chance of wound. Plus, these guys got armor and shields, and they're also magic resistance 3 as well, so I was pretty lucky in the 2 that I did. Now, the reason why I cast that spell, so that way I could use my lore ability to get rid of the Tempest, because it's truly useless for my arm right now, and I traded it out for Searing Doom for the Lore of Metal, and I also used Snarl's Arcane Vassal ability in order to launch that magic missile directly into the Scions of the Destroyer. And now I managed to get a perfect 6 on that one as well, so I was able to kill all 6 of those guys too, which is absolutely fantastic. But these guys have an armor save of 1, so I was able to get rid of these guys pretty quickly. Now, unfortunately for me though, of course, since they're frenzied, they don't have to worry about panic, so they didn't have to worry about that, but I pretty much made this unit combat and effective. In fact, my next phase here with my shooting phase, I plan on actually shooting those guys with my poison javelins to kind of take care of them. And that pretty much makes it the magic phase thus far. Alright, so with the magic phase over, we go to the shooting phase. Unfortunately, I was short 2 inches to have my Karma Chameleons open fire directly into the Scions of the Destroyer. So I wasn't going to do that, so instead I decided to direct my fire directly into the things in the air. Needless to say, those javelins had no problem killing out those Chaos Warhounds, so they are dead all to the man. So now that we're done with the shooting phase, we go directly to the close combat phase with Gatorade as well as Power Raid versus the Blood Riders. Alright, so that takes directly to the combat phase between Gatorade and Powerade versus the Blood Riders. Unfortunately, the Skull Crushers of Khorne got to go first. Unfortunately for my buddy Pig Puka, his Chaos Warriors were not able to do anything, same thing with his Juggernauts, against Gatorade and Powerade. I'm really glad I got that Dawnstone upgrade onto him so that way he can reroll his failed armor saves. It really helped him out. Meanwhile, Gatorade was able to put 2 wounds directly onto one of the Blood Riders, but the real killer here was Powerade, the Carnosaur. With those D3 wounds, they had to finish off that one fighter and take out another one completely. Needless to say, I won this combat by a landslide with a 6, so my buddy Big Puka's got to take a break test and see exactly what happens. Unfortunately for Big Puka, he did have to roll Snake Eyes in order to stay, and needless to say, he did not roll that even with the reroll from his Battle Standard Baron real close. So because he fled I think 7 inches, but I pursued 9. So because that Gatorade and Powerade overrun, destroyed the Blood Riders and goes smashing directly right into the front of the Scions of the Destroyer. So with that being said, that pretty much ended combat, so that takes directly to the top of turn number 2 for the Khorne Legion of Chaos. Alright, so that takes directly to the top of turn number 2 for the Khorne Legion of Chaos, and this is taken after the movement phase. So you can see a lot of dynamic moves pretty much happen for the most part. First thing that ended up happening is my friend Big Puka decided to declare a charge with the Flare Cannon. Unfortunately for him though, he kind of failed his charge, went up forward 6 inches, so that took place there. Meanwhile, in the middle of the table, the Black Legion as well as the Marked Men march up forward full 8 inches, moving up forward. If you notice, we took out that aqueduct system there just because the laws of physics won't allow us to keep that there with the unit being there. But just imagine there's some ruins right there, and you get the idea. Meanwhile, over here, the Scions of the Destroyer, led by Arbaal the Destroyer, is currently engaged with close combat with Gatorade and Powerade. And then for the rest of the remaining movements phase, ambushers arrive. Karanak arrives over here on the left-hand side of the table. Looks like Big Puka is planning to charging him directly into the left-hand flank or the rear of Powerade and Gatorade, depending on how the situation unfolds. At the same time, the Flesh Terrors, unit of 5 Flesh Hounds of Khorne, have also arrived on the right-hand side, starting down the flank of my Jurassic Jousters. And that pretty much makes it the move phase for this one. So the move phase are with, we go directly to the magic phase. Alright, so we're back for the rest of the turn. First of all, for the magic phase, my opponent rolled an 11 on the Ray of Chaos chart with his demonic possession. He did put it on my Slan and come with the Slan, but unfortunately for him though, with my cold-blooded trait, I was able to pass my leadership test, no problem. And in case you're not aware what that ends up happening, if I fail my leadership test because my general is a wizard, he automatically gets removed as a casualty with no saves whatsoever, and he gets replaced by a Herald of Khorne in this situation. But I got pretty lucky on that one, so no harm, no foul. There is no shooting in his army, so we skip the shooting phase, and meanwhile in the combat phase, as you can see, Gatorade and Powerade stand triumphant. What ended up happening is my opponent decided to issue a challenge to Arbaal the Destroyer, so because we do engage in close combat that way, he actually strikes first, actually puts a wound directly onto Gatorade, so that part was kind of sad, so I was really upset about that. However though, because the Carnosaur Powerade is actually has a higher initiative than my general, it gets to go, my Old Blood, it gets to go first. So needless to say, the Khorne Sword Power Raid basically ate Arbaal the Destroyer alive and managed to kill that guy. The last 2 Chaos Knights, of course, Chaos Knights do try to put attacks directly into my character, but fail to do anything against me. All hail the Dawnstone for rerolls and armor saves, and then of course my drone's able to kill both of them with his great weapon, and both those guys got killed and destroyed the last man. So as you can see here, I decided a quick combat reform here to face off against the left-hand flank of the main battle line, and that pretty much makes up top of turn number 2 for the Khorne Legion of Chaos. With that being said, we go directly to bottom of turn 2 for the Lizardmen. Alright, so I take the bottom of turn number 2 for the Lizardmen, and this is taken after the move phase. So the first thing I do, of course, is I declare charges. The first thing I do is I declare charge of Gatorade and Powerade going directly in the flank of the marked men, followed by the Guacamole guards. They charge forward and smash directly into the front of the marked men as well, catching those guys into a pincer attack. Meanwhile, over in the top, I do declare a ward with declare a charge with the thesaurus, but unfortunately I fail my charge, so because I only go up 4 inches as well, so that part's kind of rough. Luckily though, my opponent won't be able to get a flank charge off onto my Guacamole guards, so pretty secure that way. Meanwhile, over here on the right-hand side of the battlefield, I declare a charge with my Jurassic Jousters to go directly into the Flarekin, engage those guys in close combat. And at the same time, I also kind of marshal my Troglodyne over here as well to kind of protect the back ranks of the Jurassic Jousters as well as the source away from the Flesh Terrors as well. Now, the last thing I do in the sub-movement for remaining moves phase, I march up the Karma Chameleons up their maximum moon allowance, just so that way they can give this guy over here, Karanak, something to think about in case he decides to go forward to attack any of my forces. And that pretty much makes up turn number 2 for the move phase for my army. So with the move phase over with, we go directly to the magic phase. So that takes us directly to the magic phase, and luckily for me, I had a pretty dominant magic phase this turn around. I actually rolled a 10 for the winds of magic, so Big Puka got 5, I got 10. At the same time, I was able to channel 2 more dice to give me a maximum of 12 against his 5. So I pretty much ran the magic phase for the most part. So the first thing I ended up doing, of course, is I ended up casting with Snarl, my Laura Beast Skink Priest. He actually cast Amber Spear directly onto Karanak. Unfortunately for me, though, I forgot that Karanak has magic resistance 3, so needless to say, he was able to ward save that spell no problem, so that part was pretty sad. However, the next spell I decided to do is I decided to activate Crim of the Slan, and the first spell he actually cast was Fiery Convocation directly onto the Black Legion. I was able to kill 8 of those guys, so that part was absolutely fantastic. At the same time, this unit will also take strength 4 hits, flaming attacks every turn until that spell gets dispelled. From there, I then decided to trade out Fiery Convocation for Baroness Time Warp from the Lore of Metal, and I decided to cast that spell directly onto my Cold Ones over here, the Cold Riders of the Jurassic Jousters. So because that gives them 2 times movement as well as +1 attack as well as always strike first, just because they're going to need that buff in order to fight against this entire unit. That also includes Skulltaker, which is absolutely terrifying, but you know, needs be at that point. And then finally, the last spell I was able to get off was Hand of Glory. I managed to get that spell off directly onto my Guacamole guards, giving them +2 to their weapon skill, ballistic skill, initiative, as well as their movement as well. And that pretty much makes it the magic phase for this one. So with the magic phase over with, I go directly to the shooting phase, and Squirtle on the total tile decided to spit venom directly at the Flesh Terrors, able to kill one of those guys, adding a little bit of insult to injury, which is all kinds of fantastic. So now that the shooting phase is over with, we go directly to close combat. Alright, so that takes directly to the combat phase. The first thing we're going to talk about real quick is the fight between the Jurassic Jousters as well as the Flarekin. As you can see, it ended up being extremely brutal. The first thing I did, of course, I triggered the Primeval Roar from Squirtle on the total tile to give these guys +1 to their primeval attacks. They already got 1 additional attack array as well as always strike first. In the end, as you can see, ended up being an absolute bloodbath for my enemies over here. As you can see, I killed 17 bloodletters when it was all said and done. They're only able to kill 1 of my guys as well. Unfortunately for my buddy Big Puka, his dice kind of abandoned him. He wasn't able to get his ward saves off all that too well, and at the same time was unable to inflict any wounds on me either. I only had to kill 1 of my guys, so that part was absolutely brutal. So needless to say, because of combat resolution alone, this unit is going to vaporize because of the unstable special rule associated with demon units. Meanwhile, we're going to jump over here on the other side of the table. As you can see over here, another bloodbath occurred over here between the marked men as well as the Guacamole guards. First thing that's happening is that my friend decides a challenge because he has to for his champion, Eye of the God special rule. My Reverend Guardian decides to fight his champion, able to kill him and put 2 wounds on top of them. So because of that, killed him +2. At the same time, I also declared a challenge as well with my general, my old blood on a Carnosaur Gatorade and Powerade against Scyla Anfingrimm. They both actually fight it out. Was able to put a wound directly onto Powerade and Gatorade, so that part was kind of sad, but was able to kill Scyla Anfingrimm no problem as well. At the same time, you see they managed to kill 12 of the marked men, and meanwhile the marked men are able to kill 2 of my guys as well. Like I said, my friend's dice roll just abandoned him in this combat phase. Needless to say, my friend has to roll snake eyes in order to stay. He fails to roll snake eyes and he has to flee, and I decided to pursue. Alright, so that takes directly to the end of the combat phase. As you can see, the unit of the Flayerkin were vaporized from instability rules. So I do a quick combat reform with my Coleman Riders from the Jurassic Jousters to face off against the right-hand flank of the Black Legion. Meanwhile, here in the center of the table, as you can see, I decided to pursue with Power Raid and Gay Raid, who ran down the last of the marked men. The marked men actually ran away 7 inches, and I pursued 9. So because I chopped those guys up and managed to kill them. At the same time, I do a quick combat reform with the Guacamole Guard as well, facing us the left-hand flank of the Black Legion, and my Thesaurus ready to go at the front. Meanwhile, my opponent, the only thing he has left really is the Black Legion over there. Same thing with Karanak over there on the left-hand side, but I got my Skinks to deal with them there, as well as these 5 flesh hounds over here, 4 flesh hounds rather, on the right-hand side. So needless to say, my buddy decides to call it quits at this point because he realizes he's not going to be able to recomp his losses with his points, and that takes us to the end of the game. So that being said, we're going to go directly to the after action report because this game is now officially over.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
Sure, I could have stayed in the past. Could have even been king. But in my own way, I am king. Hail to the king, baby.
Alright, now it's time for the after action report. This is part of the battle report we talk about what went well, what went poorly, and what we can learn for the next time that we do battle. This is the after action report for the Golden Age Warhammer Fantasy Battle Report number 139, and this one ended up being a victory for yours truly. In the end, I was able to score 2,405 victory points, while Big Puka managed to score 108. So for Big Puka's losses, he lost Scyla Anfingrimm, as well as the Skulltaker and Sanguine Skinner, Arbaal the Destroyer, the Fangs of Nier, the Marked Men, the Flayerkin, the Scions of the Destroyer, and the Blood Riders. For my losses, I lost the Charizards. Now, the Lizards of Waaaghz's current record right now is sitting at 9 victories as well as 3 losses, and there are only 2 more battle reports left before this Lizardmen army has fought against all the armies in the studio's collection. I'm really looking forward to that as well. This battle report is an object lesson in the importance of magical defense. Magic plays a huge role in 8th edition Warhammer Fantasy, so relying upon magic resistance is not the best strategy for Big Puka. Big Puka is playing around with the idea of going back to take a Chaos Sorcerer, I know heaven forbid a Khorne list, or even actually using the Slaughter Priest from the Warhammer Armies project. My gaming group and I are actually experimenting with the idea of actually taking some of the units that are available in the new Warhammer's Army projects and in the Army books, and then using those units and integrating them into our Warhammer 8th edition battle reports as well. There's a lot of things about the Warhammer Armies project that we like and dislike. There's more dislikes than like, but those new additional units though would be really cool to jazz up our armies, so we're actually playing around with that idea. I would suggest that he actually goes to the Slaughter Priest just so that way he remains narratively balanced with an all Khorne list, but that's just my viewpoint. Now, like I said before, because I was able to control the magic phase, I was able to buff the heck out of my units before I actually engaged a close combat, because I pretty much dominated the magic phase on this one. Getting Hand of Glory and Birona's Time Warp was absolutely brutal. You could really tell with Birona's Time Warp with my 10 Jurassic Jousters against that huge unit of Flayerkin, that really just owned on that one. It was really just slaughter those demons, no problem. At the same time, Hand of Glory really stepped up a notch with my Guacamole Guard against the Marked Men as well, so that really helped out a lot. And being able to switch out the Tempest for Searing Doom was what absolutely wrecked the Scions Destroyer. That's a really nice little lore attribute for having a Lizardmen army as well. In the end, this was a great game against an awesome opponent, and as always, I'm looking for the rematch. Now, before we go any further, I want to give a big thank you to all of you, the viewers on this channel. And the reason why is because this is actually the very first battle report I was able to create with my friends after recovering from my COVID-19. And all the well wishes as well as the comments from you, the viewers, really helped me out during that time period. I'm not gonna lie, when I came down with when I tested positive for COVID-19, I was really worried. I was in a really dark place at that time. I was totally freaking out because of all the symptoms that a lot of people that I knew who had some really bad symptoms, so I was really worried about what it was going to do for me. However, though, I was extremely lucky for me, I was actually vaccinated, so my symptoms were extremely mild, and I was able to get through it. And a lot of you guys, especially my viewers, with the well-wishing in the comments, wishing me well, giving me support, that really helped me out during that time time period. So I want to give extremely big thank you to all of you guys, the viewers, because it was kind of scary there, and actually kind of helped me out a lot, and also kind of eased some of the anxiety I was feeling, and that really helped out in my recovery. So thank you very much for all you guys who commented, for all the positivity and all the positive messages. It just makes me very thankful that you guys are part of this community, and you guys are willing to support people like that. So once again, thank you very much for helping me out with that. So that's good news from you guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is always appreciated. Also, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and blogger.com for all these greatest hobby news on this channel. And now that I'm feeling a lot better, expect a lot more battle reports coming down the pike, and it's all because of you guys, the viewers. Alright, you guys, stay classy. I will catch you guys next one. Peace out.